All right, it's Rallo rolling through with another story here. So I'm going to keep it on the topic of binge traveling. Let's call this the Binge Travel Diaries. We'll call it a subset of the story. So that's what this story is. So Binge Travel Diaries. The example I'm going to give today is from Paris to London. So my first international trip ever, I went to 11 countries, 14 cities. I originally planned out the whole trip to go to just Europe. So I was going to go to Europe, and I picked all these different cities around Europe and countries. It was Edinburgh, I think Brussels, Copenhagen, London, Spain, Italy, France. You guessed it. And for somehow I missed Switzerland, but it should have been in there, but I don't know. I missed it. So anyway, so I'm pretty much halfway on planning what the cities that are going to be. And I was talking to a couple of friends, and one of my friends said, "I'm surprised you didn't include Asia in there." And I'm like, "Oh wow, you don't tell a binge traveler that, because now I'm going to see if I can fit that in there." And keep in mind, this was my first international trip, but I was going to maximize my time. So then I re-examined the trip. So then I added a few other places, Japan, and Beijing, and a couple other places too. So what I ended up doing was I got that list down to the 11 countries, but I had a predicament. I had London and Hong Kong were the last two left, and I could only choose one. So, which is ironic because, they both of those were home to the British. One was colonized by the British in the 1840s, which was Hong Kong. The other one, the British just had the territory. So that was London. So if you didn't think I knew some history, there you go there. So anyway, I decided on Hong Kong, which I thought was a great decision, by the way, but London's a hard city to miss as well. And the reason I picked Hong Kong over London is because I thought London was more like the US because of the British, but it's not exactly the same, obviously, if you've been there. There's a lot of culture there, a lot of differences. So that's, a couple of things that I was going to miss out on. So, but I just couldn't pass up Hong Kong because I thought Asia was just pretty, different. So back to this trip. Before I leave, I meet with a few of my friends, and we all go out to lunch. And a couple of them have traveled, and they talk about, hey, you should still try to go to London. It's only 2 hours away. So I'm like, oh, okay. You don't tell a binge traveler that. So it's only 2 hours away by bullet train. That's what I was told. So they said, what you need to do, I'm like, how's this possible? So they said, what you need to do is before you get to Paris, a week or two out, about a week out, you look at the weather forecast. And if anybody's been to London, there's always a lot of rain there. And look to see in the forecast if one of those days is going to be sunny, and then book a bullet train there. So I said, okay, I'm going to take the advice. We'll see what happens. So I go on my trip. I go, all over Asia, and then get to Europe. And then I think I'm in Germany. So it's maybe a week before I'm getting ready to go to Paris. And sure enough, I look, there's a sunny day on the calendar. I search the internet for, like tickets and special pricing, and I find this, sounds like I'm making it up, but I find this ticket out there. It's like for $150. It gets you the train ride, it gets you the subway pass in London, it gets you a hop on hop off pass in London, and obviously the subway and then train ride back to Paris. So I think it was about $150. It wasn't that pricey, but it wasn't like the normal site either. So, and I'm international at the time, so I don't even know if this is going to work or not. But I buy it. So I get to Paris. I finish my trip in Germany. I get to Paris. It's midnight. So when I get to Paris, I have to take a taxi to my place, which is like all the way over by, I think it's the Basilica, the Sacré-Cœur Basilica, all the way across town. So I'm staying kind of over there. I get to my hotel, and it's, a little bit after midnight. I'm talking to the guy there. He, gives me my room, and I ask him, hey, how do you get to the subway in the morning? He, gives me some information. I take it down. I go to sleep. I'm really tired. I wake up in the morning to a country I've never been into, going to a subway, that I've never seen. I get to the subway station, and I go get on the subway and then get to the main bullet train hub to go from Paris to London. And there's this line there. They have me separate to this other line, and this guy looks at my printed email stuff and he takes it. So I'm looking like, oh, okay, now we know that's at least part one of it's valid. He gives me that back. He gives me a round trip ticket for bullet train, so I know that piece. So I get on the train, I get to London. So when I get to London, I have to find the other person to give me my hop on, hop off pass, and all the other stuff there. So I get off the train. I'm looking all around the station for about 20 minutes. I can't find a person at all. And I'm thinking, oh man, now I probably got scammed for the second part. But finally, after walking maybe 5 more minutes, so it was about 25 minutes, I find a guy, he's just sitting there. And I had passed him before, but I think he was thinking the same thing. We weren't what we expected. But I go, or he says, are you looking for such pass? And I tell him my name. I give him my name, and he gives me this pass. He and I go to the subway in London. He walks me through the different sites. So we try to create a map. So I get off the busy subway in London, which everybody knows is crazy. It's all rush hour. Get on the hop on, the hop off bus. Go to the London, the Tower of London, or Tower Hill, I guess. Go there, visit all of that area. Take a picture of the London Bridge. I can see the shard from that Tower Hill as well, depending on where you're standing or the location. You can go see that. I get all the way down to the Thames River. I eat lunch. I get on the London Eye. I forgot about that too. So the London Eye, I get to see the whole scenic area of London there. Get a good picture on there. I get off. I walk across the bridge, and I go to Big Ben, Westminster Abbey. Then I go to a bar and eat some fish and chips. Then I go to Buckingham Palace, finish off in Hyde Park, get back on the I think the hop on hop off bus, get to the station, take the station back to Paris, and I get back in I think 9 or 10 o'clock, go to sleep, and next day I start in Paris. So that's an example of my fast trip from Paris to London, adventures of binge traveling.